a second. Swami. Okay, text message, and just make sure that we're online. We are online. Okay. So, 1 second. We're ready to roll. Okay. Let's chant it. Nice song. Let's see. Hey. Song should we chant? Okay. Jeev Jago means wake up. You poor Jiva soul. Jago, Jago, Caitanya Caritamrta Madhya, Madhya say Samsara Vitare. Caitanya Caritamrta Jananda Shri Advaita Ananda Sari Gaurabhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Haribo 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 Nichago Haribo Prabhupada Jai Om Vishnupad Panamahamsa Parabhagacharya Also Tara Satashi Shimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Charanada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Hridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shadwaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shyam Mukunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Ki Jai Paturadam Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Shrimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Budle Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swamati Namani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharni Nivashesha Shanyavadi Paschacha Deja Tarani. So, sorry about the sound quality, but it was turned up. Somehow or other it got turned up really high. So, we'll check on that tomorrow when we do the Kirtan. Okay, so we're going to go on to the Caitanya Caritamrta. We're reading the chapter about Srila Prabhupada's or Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings to Srila Rupa Goswami in Prayag, Allahabad. And this we've been reading yesterday about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's interactions with Vallabha Bhatta who is the head of the Vallabhacharya Sampradaya. So we're going to continue right now with the Sri Caitanya Caritamrta. I'm in New Talavan. That's New Talavan, not Tulaban. New Talavan in Mississippi. Mississippi is a state in the United States, and we have a very beautiful farm community. And we are eating all of our vegetables that are homegrown. So it's a very nice facility for Krishna consciousness here. Very, very peaceful. A lot of agriculture going on, and a lot of cows. Last night I got a chance to hug a cow, and that's why I'm so peaceful today. So let's go on with the Caitanya Caritamrta. We're going to share the screen. Actually, first, Om Gana Timirandasha Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Meditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances under the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So let's share the screen. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. So, yeah, here Lord Chaitanya is talking to Raghupati Ubadhyaya, who has composed so many beautiful verses about Lord Krishna, and many of those verses are contained in Rupa Goswami's work, especially the Padyavali, which is a compilation of different poems written by different people, and also by Rupa Goswami, and poems from the Vedic literature, and statements by Srila Prabhupada. It's a beautiful book, Padyavali by Srila Rupa Goswami. So let's continue. Shaim Rupera Vasastana Shreshtamana Kaiha Puri Maru Puri Vora Kahai Upadhyaya. Of all Krishna's abodes, which do you think is the best? Actually, we read this particular one. Raghupati Upadhyaya said Madhupuri or Mathura Dham is the best. So we'll read this verse again. Lord Krishna has many forms, as stated in the Brahma Samhita, Dvaitam Achyutam Anantarupam. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Raghupati Upadhyaya which form was the best of Lord Krishna's millions of forms, and he immediately replied that the supreme form was Shaima Sundara form. In that form, Krishna stands curved. Actually, we read this whole purport already. Let's go on to the next verse. Text 103. Balya Pakanda Kaishore Shreshtamana Kaya Vaya Kaishora Kam Jayam Kahe Upatyaya. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked, of the three ages of Krishna known as childhood, boyhood, and fresh youth, which do you consider best? Raghupati Upadhyaya replied, fresh youth is the best age. Wow. It's like 16. And we were talking about this in class today, that 16 is the best age. And of course, in the material world, it's all downhill from there. But Krishna, once he reaches 16, of course we're talking about reaches, but that's in the material world where he appears to grow, then he stays as fresh as a 16-year-old for the rest of his pastimes. It's described that when Krishna was 125 years on the earth planet, which is during the battle of Kurukshetra, Krishna looked like a 16-year-old boy. Wow. That's the fountain of youth. Rasagana Majitumi Shreshta Manakaya Ajaiva Parurasa Kai Upadhyaya. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked among all the mellows, which do you consider best? Raghupati Upadhyaya replied, the mellow of conjugal love is supermost. Of course, that's the mellow or relationship that Srimati Radharani and her associates have with Krishna. Prabhu Kai Balatatva Shikaila More Etabali Shlokapade Gadgara Sware. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then said, you have certainly given first-class conclusions. After saying this, he began to recite the full verse in a faltering voice. Shaimam eva param rupam puri maru puri varaha vayakashorakam dihang ajaheva parorasaha. The form of Shama Sundara is the supreme form. The city of Mathura is the supreme abode. Lord Krishna's fresh youth should always be meditated upon, and the mellow of conjugal love is the supreme mellow. Wow. This verse is found in the Pajabali, that's Rupa Goswami's compilation 82. Prema Veshe Prabhu Tanre Kaila Lingana Prema Matahana Tenho Karena Nartana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then embraced Raghupati Upadhyaya in ecstatic love. Raghupati Upadhyaya was also overwhelmed by love, and he began to dance. Deki Balabhavatta Mane Chamatkara Haila Dviputra Hani Prabhura Charane Padila. Vallabha Bhattacharya was struck with wonder to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Raghupati Upadhyaya dance, even brought forward his two sons and made them fall down at the Lord's lotus feet. And Prabhupada explains the two sons of Vallabhacharya were Gopinath and Vitaleshvara. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited Prayag in the year 1434 or 1435 Shakabda era, that's AD 1512 or 1513, Vitaleshvara was not yet born. In the one should see Madhya Lila 1847. Prabhu dekibare gramera sabaloka ila Prabhu darashane sabhe Krishna bhakta haila. Upon hearing that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had arrived, all the villagers went to see him. Simply by seeing him, they all became devotees of Krishna. Brahmana sakalakanena prabhura nimantrana Vallabhavata tansavare karena nivarana. All the Brahmanas of the village were eager to extend invitations to the Lord, but Vallabha Bhattacharya forbade them to do so. Premanmadi pade goshani madhya yamunate prayage chalaiva ihan nadiva rahite. Vallabha Bhatta then decided not to keep Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Adaila because the Lord had jumped into the river Yamuna in ecstatic love. Therefore, he decided to bring him to Prayag, which is on the other side of the river. Yanraicha Prayage Yana Kariba Namantrana Eta Bali Prabhulana Karila Gamana. Vallabha Bhatta said, if anyone likes, he can go to Prayag and extend invitations to the Lord. In this way, he took the Lord with him and departed for Prayag. Now, how did they cross the river? Gangapate Mahaprabhure Nokate Vasana Prayage Ailabhatta Goshanire Lana. Vallabha Bhattacharya avoided the river Yamuna. Putting the Lord on a boat in the river Ganges, he went with him to Prayag. So I guess he had to go a little bit upstream where there was only the Ganges. But anyway, it's hard to understand how he was able to cross the river and not cross the Yamuna. Loka Bira Baye Prabhu Dashamva Medeyana Urupa Goshani Re Shiksha Karana Shakti Sanchariya. Due to the great crowds in Prayag, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to a place called the Dashashvamedha Ghata. That's a bathing place. It was there that the Lord instructed Srila Rupa Goswami and empowered him in the philosophy of devotional service. Parasha Shaktir Vipadaiva Shruyate, that's from the Caitanya Caritamrta Madhya lila 1365 in the purport. The Supreme Lord has multi-potencies, which the Lord bestows on his fortunate devotees. The Lord has a special potency by which he spreads the Krishna consciousness movement. This is explained in the Caitanya Caritamrta in the Ancha Lila 711. Krishna Shakti, Kale Kale Radama Krishna Nama Sankirtana, Krishna Shakti Vanamna Ke Tare Pravartana. Okay, let me translate this before we get to Prabhupada's translation. So it says, in this age of Kali, the Yuga Dharma is to chant the holy names of the Lord, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and without Krishna Shakti Vina, without the potency of Krishna, one cannot do this. One cannot spread Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada translates that as one cannot spread the holy name of Krishna without being specifically empowered by Lord Krishna. So a devotee who receives this power from the Lord must be considered very fortunate. So how do you get empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Well, it's actually quite easy. You accept a bona fide spiritual master who comes down in disciplic succession, and you serve the spiritual master, and then the power comes through you. Just like in Star Wars, you have this expression, let the force be with you. And if you're not serving the spiritual master nicely, then you don't have that potency, you don't have that power, even though you may look externally the same. The example I sometimes use in this particular context is that if you have a power plug in the wall, or socket, as you call it in America, electric socket, or power point, as you say in New Zealand, Australia, and Fiji, or in India, and it is not connected to the powerhouse, it looks the same as when it's connected to the powerhouse. But it has no potency. Looks the same externally, but if you plug something into it, ain't nothing's going to happen. The Krishna consciousness movement. So we have to be connected by serving Krishna and serving the spiritual master and pleasing the spiritual master. Then we are empowered. Empowered means that we're given the power. It is not that we can take the power, usurp the power, but the power has to be given to us by the pure devotee. Krishna say Tumar Krishna Dite Par. The Krishna consciousness movement is spreading to enlighten people about their real position, their original relationship with Krishna. One requires Krishna's special power in order to be able to do this. People forget their relationship with Krishna and work under the spell of Maya, life after life. Maya, of course, means illusion. Transmigrating from one body to another, this is the process of material existence. The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna personally descends to teach people that their position in the material world is a mistaken one. The Lord again comes as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to induce people to take the Krishna consciousness. The Lord also empowers a special devotee to teach people about their constitutional position. So the Lord is empowered as Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada is deputizing us. In spite, of course, one shouldn't think, I'm really qualified to be empowered. It is more or less like they used to do in the Old West in the United States. Here's an interesting story. In the Old West of the United States, they had these cowboys. Cowboys means not the coward boys like they have in Christians' pastimes. But in this particular context, cowboys means, I think you understand what a cowboy is. Anyway, if you've seen any of these movies. So there were many criminals then. And there weren't people that were actually properly trained up to be police or sheriffs, as the case may be. Okay, the sheriff is someone who is, I guess, the sheriff is someone who's in charge of the police force. So there weren't sheriffs, there weren't police, nobody was qualified, or very few people were qualified. It was really like a wild time. So therefore, those who were qualified, very few of them, they empowered people who were at least going to follow their directions and didn't have that much training. And therefore, they were called deputized or deputy sheriff. They would pin a badge on them, even though they hadn't gotten any training, and they were deputized. All right, you go out, you do the best you can, and they were empowered in that particular way. So in the same way, Srila Prabhupada empowered us in the beginning. Of course, now devotees are getting more training, they're understanding the philosophy better, but Srila Prabhupada empowered us in the beginning, just giving us the holy name and the philosophy, and said, all right, you've been in the movement 1 year now, you're ready to be a preacher. Or you've been in the movement. I remember I was in the movement in roughly one day, and I was sent out to preach Krishna consciousness. Of course, distributing books. And after about 4 or 5 months in the movement, I was told to give the Sunday feast lecture. I mean, what did I know after 5 months in the Hare Krishna movement as far as the philosophy? I mean, I knew the philosophy, but as far as how to present the philosophy, and as far as like time, place, and circumstance, and what am I going to say at the Sunday feast with all these older devotees? Older devotees means they were 1 year more than me in the movement. All these older devotees looking at me. And so I got up on the asana, that means a seat, and I started to speak. And Krishna empowered me, even though I was extremely disqualified at that particular point, or unqualified. Let's say unqualified rather than disqualified. Disqualified would mean bad. So, and Krishna empowered me. Somehow or other, he spoke through my mouth. And since then, of course, I studied a lot of Srila Prabhupada's books, and I understand a lot more of the philosophy, but still we're dependent on Krishna to empower us. Because empower us means not only you speak the philosophy correctly, but you're able to have that Shakti to Bhavanti Vritkarna Rasayana Kataja Joshana Rasyopavarga Bhatmani Shradavritir Bhakti Nukramishati, to have the sound vibration go into someone's heart. Because we're trying to change people's hearts, not just convince them about the philosophy, but we're trying to change the hearts of people. And the way we change the hearts of people is you have to have some potency, the rasayana kata, some medicine. Medicine has to have some potency, just like if sometimes you give someone a sugar pill, it doesn't work. Doctors sometimes will give someone a placebo. Placebo means it's like a sugar pill or an injection with just water or just saline solution or something like that, and say this is a miracle drug, but it doesn't work. So therefore, one has to please the spiritual master to get empowered. And then even though whatever one's past has been, then you can do miracles. And I've seen that in my own experience of Krishna consciousness, then just miracles. And it's all Prabhupada. You have to attribute it. Not only are you dependent on the spiritual master, but you have to attribute it to the spiritual master's mercy. Your mercy is all that I'm made of. That's an expression, a very important expression. Not that you think, oh, I'm so intelligent, I'm educated, I have a degree from Harvard. Of course, I don't have a degree from Harvard. Some people do. Not that you should be thinking like that. You should be thinking just by Prabhupada's mercy, Krishna's mercy, I'm here. I'm speaking about Krishna consciousness. Like right now, I'm thinking I'm speaking about the Caitanya Caritamrta and the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada has put me in this position. It's amazing. It's amazing. He's lifted me up from the darkness, literally the darkness of ignorance. And that's how we should feel. Not that, I was extreme. Sometimes you hear from people, people have said to me many times, I came to Krishna consciousness because I was very advanced in spiritual life. Very advanced. That's why I came to Krishna consciousness. Now, it may be like that. But if you were very advanced, you wouldn't be speaking like that, Prabhu or Prabhi or Prabhini. You wouldn't be speaking like that. You would say, I came to Krishna consciousness because Prabhupada saved me. Prabhupada saved me. And that's really what we have to remember. Just like that devotee who just, practically his only mantra in the beginning, other than the Hare Krishna mantra, was Prabhupada saved me. I guess I can tell that story again. Okay, here's the story really quickly. Once upon a time, the devotees in France were actually going on kirtan, and this, what we would call a bum or a street person, came out at them, and they gave him some prasadam, and they thought, he's really dirty. He hasn't taken a bath in 10 years. They were thinking like that really dirty guy. So one time, they were going on a morning walk with Prabhupada, and this person came out of the bushes, tried to touch Prabhupada's feet, and they just pushed him away. And when they came back to the temple, they found that he was in the temple, and he was in the ashram, and then somehow or other he stayed. Prabhupada wouldn't let them throw him out of the temple, and he just took some menial service in the temple. He was cleaning the temple, doing so many things one day, and chanting, of course. And one day, they actually called him Pigpen because he looked like that, like a pig pen. Pig pen means, anyway, you know what a pig pen is, a place where a pig lives. So anyway, one day they went on traveling Sankirtan, and they saw that he was in the van with them. And they said, why don't you go back home, Pigpen? I'll go back to the temple. And they said, no, Sankirtan, I'm going to do Sankirtan. Prabhupada saved me. Prabhupada saved me. He was so determined. And so then they went on Sankirtan. They said, all right, let him go, whatever. And so they stopped at a particular place to do books. And they were taking their prasadam, and this person, who they called Pigpen, he said, I want to distribute books. So they gave him a few books and said, all right, let's get him out of the way or something like that. So he went out, and within a half an hour, while they were still taking prasadam or resting after prasadam, he came back and had distributed all of his books. And he had collected money for them. And they said to him, what did you tell people? And he said, I simply said to them, Prabhupada saved me. Prabhupada saved me. And so he became one of the best book distributors. Later on, he was giving Bhagavatam classes and preaching nicely. And he got initiated, of course, by Prabhupada Vasada. And he unfortunately left this world some time ago. But he had dedicated himself to Prabhupada and became a Brahmin just by Prabhupada's association, chanting the holy names, and being humble, understanding Prabhupada saved me. So this is the point, that one has to think like that. Like we chanted before class, I was born in the darkness of ignorance, my spiritual master enlightened me with the torchlight of knowledge, etc., like that. So one has to think like that, really believe it. And if one thinks, I'm in Krishna consciousness because I was so qualified, that is a disqualification. Anyway, sorry about that one. So, turn down your false ego, Prabhu. Krishna Tattva, Bhakti Tattva, Rasa Tattva, Pranta. Sabashikaila Prabhu, Bhagavata Siddhanta. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu taught Srila Rupa Goswami the ultimate limit of the truth about Lord Krishna, the truth about devotional service, and the truth about transcendental mellows, culminating in conjugal love between Radha and Krishna. Finally, he told Rupa Goswami about the ultimate conclusions of Srimad Bhagavatam. Wow. Sambandha Abhideya Prayojana. Sambandha means the tattvas, the process of devotional service, that's Abhideya, and Prayojana, the ultimate conclusions of Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. Ramananda Pashyata Siddhanta Shunila Rupa Kripa Karita Sabha Sancharila. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught Rupa Goswami all the conclusions he had heard from Ramananda Roy and duly empowered him so that he could understand them. So it seems like Lord Chaitanya learned from Ramananda Roy, but Lord Chaitanya asking Ramananda Roy different questions. These are called rhetorical questions because the teacher knows the answer to the questions, but he's trying to draw them out of the student. It's not that the teacher is not aware of the answers to the questions. Shri Rupa Hridaya Prabhu Shakti Sancharila Sarva Tattva Nirupane Pravina Karila. By entering the heart of Rupa Goswami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu empowered him to ascertain properly the conclusion of all truths. He made him an experienced devotee whose decisions correctly agreed with the verdicts of the disciplic succession. Thus, Sri Rupa Goswami was personally empowered by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The principles of devotional service are only apparently under the jurisdiction of material activity. To be rightly guided, one must be personally guided by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This was the case with Srila Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, and the other acharyas. So what does it mean when it says principles of devotional service are only apparently under the jurisdiction of material activity? In other words, you'll find in the Nectar Devotion different injunctions which are applied generally externally, like offenses against the deities, offenses against the holy name, to avoid, of course, and positive injunctions and the different aspects of devotional service, etc., etc., etc. And so it appears to be something external, that is just like material activity. Just like people look at what we do and they describe from an external viewpoint what we do. Yes, they wake up early in the morning. Hopefully you do wake up early in the morning. So yes, they wake up early in the morning, they take a bath, they walk to the temple, they chant this prayer, they pick up their beads, they chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. That's just very external. So it looks like it's just, religious rituals. Of course, that's one of the offenses on chanting, to consider the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra to be like one of the rituals or injunctions found in the Karmakanda section of the Vedic literatures. So one should actually see underneath, or let's say behind the rituals, behind the external activities, and see these external activities are activities that help us fix the mind on Krishna, and that is the purpose of them. And so one shouldn't see the external activities as the all in all. Otherwise, you're going to be thinking this is just material. So it's like trying to taste, like Prabhupada would say, taste the bottle of honey by looking on the outside. You got to open up the bottle of honey. So many times you'll find people coming to the temple, taking pictures, doing reports on what goes on in the temple, and they're simply writing down what they perceive. And it looks like material activity, but it's not. They're projecting their own conceptions upon the realm of the absolute truth. Shivananda Senere Putra Kavikarna Pura Rupera Milana Swakrante Likiachena Prachura. In his book Caitanya Chandrodaya, Kavikarna Pura, the son of Shivananda Sen, has elaborately described the meeting between Sri Rupa Goswami and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Kalena Vrindavana Kele Varta Lupteti Tam Gyapaitum Vishishya Kripamritena Vishishecha Devas Tatraiva Rupam Cha Sanatanam Cha. In the course of time, the transcendental news of Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan was almost lost. To enunciate explicitly those transcendental pastimes, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu empowered Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami with the nectar of his mercy to carry out this work in Vrindavan. And of course, this verse. And the following two verses are from Act 9, 38, 29, 30 of the Caitanya Chandrodaya by Sri Kavi Karnapura. Yag prageva priyaguna ganara gada bado pimukto gehal yasa dyasa rasahiva paromurta evapyamurta premalapar dridhatara parisam svangarangae prayage tam shirupam samam anupamena nujagraha deva. From the very beginning, Srila Rupa Goswami was deeply attracted by the transcendental qualities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Thus, he was permanently relieved from family life. Srila Rupa Goswami and his younger brother Ballabha were blessed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Although the Lord was transcendently situated in his transcendental eternal form, at Prayag he told Rupa Goswami about transcendental ecstatic love of Krishna. The Lord then embraced him fondly and bestowed all his mercy upon him. Priya Surupe Dayata Surupe Prema Surupe Sahaja Virupe Nijanurupe Prabhureka Rupe Tatanurupe Swavilasurupe. Indeed, Srila Rupa Goswami, whose dear friend was Swarup Damodar, was the exact replica of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he was very, very dear to the Lord. Being the embodiment of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's ecstatic love, I'll repeat that. Being the embodiment of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's ecstatic love, that's Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami was naturally very beautiful. He very carefully followed the principles enunciated by the Lord, and he was a competent person to explain properly the pastimes of Lord Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu expanded his mercy to Srila Rupa Goswami just so he could render service by writing transcendental literatures. And that Rupanuga means we are following in the footsteps, or following the example, or following in the mood of Srila Rupa Goswami. And Srila Rupa Goswami wrote what Prabhupada considered the law book for the Krishna consciousness movement. And that law book is the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which Prabhupada, in his commentary on it, or his elaboration on it, called the Nectar of Devotion. So, Emata Karnapura Leke Stane Prabhu Kripa Kaila Yache Rupa Sanatane. The characteristics of Srila Rupa Goswami have thus been described in various places by the poet Kavi Karnapura. An account has also been given of how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bestowed his causeless mercy upon Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Sanatana Goswami. Mahaprabhudayata Pada Pada Bhakta Matra Rupa Sanatana Sabara Kripa Gaurava Patra. Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami were the objects of love and honor for all the great stalwart devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Keha Yadideshaya Deki Vrindavana Tonre Prashnakarena Prabhura Harishadagana. If someone returned to his country after seeing Vrindavan, the associates of the Lord would ask him questions. Kaha Tahan Kache Rahe Rupa Sanatana Kaiche Rahe Kaiche Vairagya Kaiche Bhojana. They would ask those returning from Vrindavan, how are Rupa and Sanatana doing in Vrindavan? What are their activities in the renounced order? How do they manage to eat? These were the questions asked. And of course, all that information about these pure devotees is completely spiritual. It's Krishna lila. Krishna lila, or Krishna Katha, let's be more specific. Krishna Katha includes talks about Krishna, Krishna's activities, talks about Krishna's philosophy of Krishna consciousness, and also talks about practical devotional service, and also talks about Krishna's devotees. Just like we have our Prabhupada Lilamrita, that's Krishna Katha. And Krishna appreciates it more when we talk about his devotees than when we talk about him directly. Because Krishna says, one who says he is a devotee in the Adi Purana, one who says he is a devotee of me is not my devotee. One who says he is a devotee of a devotee is my devotee. And Lord Shiva says the same thing, Radhanam Sarvesham Vishnu Radhanam Param Tasmat Patharam Devi Tvariyanam Samarchanam. That top worship is worship of Vishnu, and better than that is worship of Vishnu's devotees. Kaiche Ashta Prahara Kadena Shri Krishna Bhajana Tabe Pasham Siya Kahi Se Bhakta Gana. The Lord's associates would also ask, how is it that Rupa and Sanatana are engaged in devotional service 24 hours daily? At that time, the person who had returned from Vrindavan would praise Srila Rupa and Sanatana Goswamis. Aniketa dunhe paniyata vrikshagana eka eka vrikshera tale eka eka ratri shayana. The two brothers actually have no fixed residence. They reside beneath trees, one night under one tree and the next night under another. And so the reason that sannyasis will do that sometimes is not to become attached to any particular place, because when we stay for actually more than 3 days at a place, then we actually put down our roots. We think we possess something, we possess a room or whatever like that. Of course, Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, according to Srila Prabhupada, stayed beneath trees, but those trees were desire trees. The trees in Vrindavan are not ordinary trees. Desire trees means they fulfill your desires. And I've had experience of that too. When you embrace the tree, you have a desire, you make a wish, of course, obviously for Krishna consciousness in one way or the other. And Krishna fulfills that desire. Whenever I go to Vrindavan, especially one tree, which is the tree near the bathing ghat of Madhavendra Puri, and that's in Govindakund. I embrace the tree and make a wish. And sometimes I wish for the benefit of others too. I say, please save my disciples. Please help them become Krishna conscious. Vipragrehe stula bhiksha kahan madhukari shushka ruti chana chuhaya boga parihari. The Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami beg a little food from the houses of brahmanas, giving up all kinds of material enjoyment. They take only some dry bread and fried chickpeas. Koronya matrahate kanta chinta vahivasa Krishna Katha Krishna Nama Nartana Ulasa. They carry only water pots and they wear torn quilts. They always chant the holy names of Krishna and discuss his pastimes. In great jubilation, they also dance. Now, if you do this with an ordinary person, they live very austerely, they will be miserable. But Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, the other Goswamis of Vrindavan, Nijahara, they gave up eating, they gave up sleeping, they gave up all the amenities of life, and they were actually coming from very rich families, Jakshapurnam. They gave up. It's not that they were poor from the beginning. Rupa Goswami had boatloads of gold when he actually retired from government service. Sanatana Goswami was in a similar situation. Beautiful house, facility. You can imagine, what to speak of Raghunath Das Goswami, his opulences were like that of the heavenly King Indra. So they gave it all up. And usually you'll find that if a very rich person gives it all up, they become miserable and die shortly thereafter. So in their case, they gave it all up externally, but because they were enjoying the greatest riches, which is Krishna consciousness, they were in ecstasy and there was no suffering. And that's amazing. So, of course, it should not be done artificially. When you become Krishna conscious, then naturally Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayati Yasu Vairagam Yadamcha Yadahaitukam. Automatically you will become detached and not bothered because you're not eating opulent food anymore with pakoras and sweet rice and everything like that. It just won't, it's not going to be consequential to you. Really not consequential. Like Raghunath Goswami was eating rejected rice that even the cows wouldn't eat. He would wash the rejected rice, put a little salt on it, and that was his prasadam. And he wasn't suffering. He was in ecstasy. He could read his literature. He was in complete ecstasy. His mind was clear. So don't do this artificially. If you do it artificially, you will be a miserable camper. Okay, so on that happy note, we're going to take some questions. Stop sharing, unmute you all, and allow you to, as we normally say, raise your hand or type in the chat window or unmute yourself or somehow or other. Let me know what you'd like to hear. So, who's the next? I don't want to say victim. Oh, who's the next person who wants to ask a question? Anybody? Oh my God. Nobody wants to ask a question. We may have to end a little early. Oh.
I have a question.
Chelsea Craddock. Okay. What's the question?
Somebody said ask just before me, so you can get them first.
That was Gopal Cohn. He's always asking questions.
No, it was a girl.
A girl?
Yes, she said, I have a question.
Okay.
Lila Avatar here with me. She wanted to ask.
Yeah.
Oh, Lila Avatar. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been wondering about something for a while is when you're going through life and you just feel like I guess you're in a sense feeling more and more I think the word is surrendered in a sense or not sure. Like I feel like you get disconnected from things that you don't desire to things that you do want to desire or something. It's hard to explain. Like I'm trying to figure out where the disconnection to the connection is.
It's well, let's, instead of using the word surrender, let's just like you give your heart. Like the word for surrender, usually uses sharanam. It means to go to a place or give your heart. So in English, the word surrender basically means something that's forced. Just like the word duty in English. I was talking with some devotees about that today. You say, I'm doing this because it's my duty. That really doesn't sound good.
No.
Or surrender is usually there used in English because, someone's forced you in one way to surrender. But let's say giving your heart to Krishna, then automatically the things you had some interest in before, they're just not there anymore. And sometimes you're even lamenting that, what happened? I'm not interested in anymore. I said, why am I not interested? Something's wrong with me. Maybe I should see a doctor. So it's an automatic process that occurs because someone is in love with Krishna or in love with serving Krishna in the beginning or serving the spiritual master. Then automatically one's desire to do the other things. Just like before I joined the Krishna conscious movement or before whatever I did. I like to do a lot of things. I'd like to go skiing, snow skiing, and also water skiing. I really like that. I mean, snow skiing, water skiing. And now I'm thinking, it just doesn't even attract. The mind's not attracted to those things anymore. And so because just because one is attracted to Krishna, one is attracted to doing things that give one happiness. And of course, in the Bhagavad Gita, that talks about the higher taste. Raso Bharjam Raso Pirsa Parandrasya Nivartate. When one has a higher taste, then one is not interested. It's just like one becomes not negative towards the other things. Like if someone says, "Would you like to go water skiing?" I think, what for? It's not that like, ooh, Maya, horrible. I don't think like that. I just think, whatever. And whatever, I'm not interested in anymore. And of course, the doctor would say, that's a sign of depression. Actually, a doctor would say something like that. Why is he not interested in these fun things in the material world? Why is he not interested in going to the movies, other than Star Wars? But why is he not interested in any of these things of this world? And he must have some psychological aberration. Well, because he's enjoying it. And, just like, I was just thinking about one of my godbrothers who just passed away. And he was in ecstasy as he was passing away, thinking of Krishna. Actually, he's a very close godbrother. I don't need to mention his name. And he was in ecstasy and happy and blessing everybody. If a doctor would see him, they just think this is very unusual. Why is he in so much ecstasy? Why is he happy like that? So, anyway. So does that answer your question, or do I need to elaborate?
Yes, it answers the question. Thank you.
Okay.
Would you please speak your godbrother's transcendental name?
No, it's secret.
All right. Yes, Gurudev.
Okay. But anyway, he just recently passed away. And anyway, so yes, when people pass away, when devotees pass away, they don't go through, advanced devotees, they don't go through the normal stages that someone goes through that we learned about. The stages of leaving the body, first of all, denial, and then anger, and then all sorts of different stages, and fear. So a pure devotee or someone very advanced doesn't go through these stages. Okay. Good question. Thank you, Lila Avatar. So who else has a question? I think Tulsi did. Tulsi?
Well, I was just thinking out. Krishna also forced us to renounce things in a sense, like when he knows.
That's kind of depressing.
Well, I mean, forces in a positive sense, like he lets us know it's
positive. Oh my God.
He lets us know when it's time we need to kind of like really let go already.
Nah, it's all voluntary. Oh my God, you're old school preaching. Oh my God, this is so discouraging.
What can I do? I'm an old person.
Yeah, God, oh my God, I'm complaining about you. I'm gonna
What do we do when we get hit?
I'm gonna make a complaint. It's no force. It's all voluntary. It's all love.
Yeah, we still.
No, Krishna doesn't force us. He doesn't force us. He gives us some gentle nudges, and then it's up to us.
Yeah, because we still need to decide that that's what we want.
That's right. We come to many forks in the road. Krishna presents us different forks in the road. And we're the ones who have to choose which fork we take. It's not that Krishna says, you better take this fork or I'm going to just blast you to smithereens. No force. Oh my God. I thought you were supposed to be doing outreach to university students.
I am, but I'm by myself right this second.
All right. The old school Hare Krishna. These old school Hare Krishnas are too much for me. Okay, so here's another question. Hare Krishna Gurudev, please tell my basis. Does it mean when someone says that we came to Krishna consciousness because of our past life karma? No, that is absolutely wrong. We come to Krishna consciousness, first of all, when we desire to be Krishna conscious, which had nothing to do with karma. Krishna sends Guru, and Guru gives us the Bhakti Lata Bij. I mean, just like in my own life, I desired to understand the absolute truth. I desired to do something that was inherently valuable. I mean, ultimately valuable, not just inherently valuable. And therefore, when I turned on the radio, I heard Prabhupada. Or when I was working a job, driving a taxi after university, someone gave me a Krishna book. It didn't happen by accident. Brahmanda Brahmate Kona Bhagavan Jiva Guru Krishna Prasadi Bhari Bhakti Lata Bij. When one acts, by the mercy of Krishna, here's the quote, by the mercy of Krishna one gets Guru, and by the mercy of Guru one gets Krishna. So that's it. It's mercy, it's compassion. But that mercy and compassion is given because we are ready, and we're ready not because of karma, not because of anything else. And even if it was due to our past, let's say, devotional service, okay. I accept that many people come to Krishna consciousness, and we're not talking about karma now, because of doing past devotional service in some past life. I accept that. That's true. Krishna says that in the Gita, no loss or diminution from one lifetime to another. But even if it is so, one shouldn't be thinking like that. One should be thinking, I came to Krishna consciousness because I was born, I was ignorant, I had no good qualities, and by my spiritual master's mercy, who is transmitting the Shakti from Krishna, I am now in Krishna consciousness. And without that mercy, I would be nowhere. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. Actually, Prabhupada taught us that prayer. Chakshuram niritam yeda. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Okay, any other quick questions before we end? Because I have some people coming. Actually, with my prasadam or with the boga to offer my deities. I have my deities with me now.
Hare Krishna Gurudev.
Hare Krishna Sumukhi.
Jai Gurudev. I had in one class, not your class, Gurudev, that the Paramatma inside my heart comes out as the spiritual master. Is it true, Gurudev?
Yes. Yes, the Paramatma in the heart, he's called Chaita Guru, is represented by the Guru. It's not that the Paramatma jumps out of the heart and becomes your Guru. Like, I'm your Guru, I didn't jump out of your heart, I'm not the Paramatma. So, but the Guru is the manifest representative of the Paramatma, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Gurudev.
Guru is the external Paramatma, and then you have the internal Paramatma. Yes. I am the Paramatma. No, I'm not the Paramatma. That would be crazy. I am representing the Paramatma to the disciples. That's all. And I'm just doing the best to please my spiritual master's divine grace, Srila Prabhupada, who is representing, with Prabhupada, I would say Prabhupada is representing Krishna and Braj. Which is a higher manifestation than the Paramatma of the same person. There's no difference between Krishna and the Paramatma. But one who is actually Krishna conscious, the form of the Lord in their hearts is Krishna. Just like Hanuman, when he ripped open his chest, who did he see? He didn't see Paramatma. He saw Sita and Ram. So we should be like that. Paramatma. Okay, so we're going to end now. We'll see everybody same time, same station tomorrow evening. All glories to His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada.